What are we going to video today?
I was hoping you'd do that.
Well, you're the video-er. I'm just the video-e.
Well, we haven't really talked about any traps, and we are a nuisance wildlife company.
Okay.
Got any cool fluids?
We got some interesting traps. Let's do 2 traps and 2 lures.
Fantastic.
2 traps and 2 lures. At Wildlife Command Center, we rescue people every day from wild animals, and sometimes we do it barehanded. In the urban environment, there are more animals per acre than there are in the rural environment. So when you go to Old McDonald's farm, there's only X number of animals that can be supported on 1 acre of land. It's called carrying capacity. But when you're in the urban environment, that number is tenfold, 15 times sometimes, because humans provide an artificial carrying capacity. And what I mean by this is people put out dog food, people put out cat food, people put out bird feeders, all kinds of extra food that normally wouldn't be in an environment. Plus you got dumpsters and trash cans and all this extra food. You got water everywhere, and we build shelters that we call our homes, but the animals often take over, and that's where we come in. A lot of times animals will move into an attic and they'll say, "Whoa, look at this great pink fluffy stuff. I'm the smartest raccoon I know." So we come in and we help resolve that problem. We'll get the animals out, we'll fix the house, seal it up, and then we'll find a more suitable location for the animals, typically 22 miles away and across a body of water. We guarantee the animals do not come back. I'll say that again slower, because we are one of the few companies that guarantee that the animal will not come back, because if we're going to translocate it, we take it 22 miles away across at least one body of water, a lake, a river, a creek, and we make sure that it's put into a position somewhere that it will not return to your property. Today, we are going to go over a couple of lures that we use on the regular, especially this time of the year, and a couple of tube traps that we like to use, the Z tube trap and the TUFF trap.
This looks nice and seasoned.
Yeah, it is seasoned. This is a TUFF trap, tube trap. All right. This is the raccoon size, which is suitable for the largest raccoons. You can use this for possums, and you can use this for skunks. Very nice and handy for skunks, because it's only got one opening. The skunk can't see you coming. And what happens a lot of time in the urban environment is your neighbor is going to take care of it himself. He catches a raccoon in a cage trap, a wire trap. The raccoon learns that that wire, that feel of the wire underneath his feet, is a negative experience. And your neighbor takes the raccoon down to the park a mile away, turns it loose, and the raccoon gets back before he does, because that just isn't far enough if you're going to translocate. Also, in the state of Missouri and a few other states that we operate in, it is illegal to translocate an animal without written permission from the property, the landowner. Remember that. So the backside here is the release door. All right. It's a solid door that is held in place by a spring mechanism. You can pull the spring out and you can pull the door straight out to release your animal, if that's the way you want to do it. From here you can see the dog and trigger mechanism. The animal comes in and he steps on this plate right here, and it actuates the door. The door is on this side. This is a locking mechanism so that the animal can't get out. This is your trigger mechanism, and it holds the door open. So the raccoon goes in right here. He's smelling all this wonderful stuff back here. He hits the pan, the door shuts, and you've captured your raccoon. So if you catch a skunk, he immediately throws his tail up because of the slam of that door, but he doesn't spray because he can't see anything. Skunks typically don't spray unless they can see their target. And you can use that to your advantage when you're dealing with a skunk. So just to go over the parts again, this is your trigger mechanism, this is your locking mechanism, this is your door. You slide this in like this, it holds the door open. If you want a more trigger, a soft trigger, you pull this part here all the way out to the edge. If you want a hard trigger, you push it all the way in.
Is that to avoid like catching a certain thing, or?
So you can use it to you can use the different tensions on the door to capture certain animals. For instance, if you did not want to capture cats, but you only wanted to capture raccoons, if you set this on hard, then the raccoon really has to work this pan back here. Cats typically will not, but it's not a fail-safe. We typically use it on the lightest setting possible so that the animal just barely touches the pan and it's captured. So this is a tube trap that is made by TUFF traps. You can pick these up on wildlife control supplies. There's a link down at the bottom in the description that will link you straight to it. They make two different sizes. They make this size, which is a raccoon size. They make a smaller size, which is most suitable for skunks. However, you can catch just about any animal in either size because animals are amazing at how small they can make themselves to get into a tube trap. Let's take a look at our next tube trap. It is a different design and it's made by a different manufacturer. These traps are made by Z Traps, Z Tube Traps, and the trigger mechanism is different and just the general design of it is different. They do make this trap in a metal version and this PVC version. I like the PVC because it's easy to clean. It doesn't rust. It's white. People like the metal version because it's black and it's a little more discreet. But the basic mechanisms of this trap work pretty much the same way. All right, you got a back door that has a release mechanism on it, okay, that you can open up. So this is your back door, keeps your animal captured. As you see, there's no pan in here. There's only this bar, all right? And so this trap works because the animal moves past this bar, and when the animal's body moves the bar to one side or to the other, that's what triggers the locking mechanism. This is your pan or your trigger mechanism right here. On this side, again, you have a door lock, so the door can't open. All right. This is what's considered your dog or your trigger the rest of your trigger mechanism. Okay. This door sits on top. There's a flat part. Can you see the flat part on top of this round piece of stock? It sits in the center. So you line up this metal tab with this trigger mechanism, and when the animal pushes past this bar, trips the trigger, trips the trap. The trap is tripped. And because of this locking mechanism, the animal can't get back out. This trap is available. We'll put a link down in the description, but it's available for direct purchase from Z Traps. Now, why would you want to use this trap? Well, if you had an animal that was resistant to stepping the pan, they will often trigger this kind of a trap just by moving past it with the bulk of their body. If you were having problems with a trap-shy raccoon that would not actually stand on the pan because of whatever, because raccoons learn stuff, then this would be the trap you might want to go to because it operates off of the movement of the animal's body, pushing the trigger from one side to the other. So, how do you get the animal to go inside this, you ask? I'm glad you asked me that question. Well, we use baits and we use lures, all right? The difference between bait and lure is that bait tastes good, but it's not very odoriferous. Lure smells good, but it may or may not taste that great. So we'll use a combination. In the urban environments, we definitely use a combination. If you were just fur trapping, you could use one or the other. But in the urban environment, we're under a sense of urgency to capture this animal, and so we'll use both. But today we're going to talk about two excellent lures that happen to be okay bait, but we never use these two by themselves. Both of these products are available through Wildlife Control Supplies. The first one is Crawfish Oil. Raccoons and possums and skunks are attracted to this crawfish oil. It is a shellfish-based oil. It smells just like crawfish. In the South, we call them mud bugs. Raccoons are really used to eating them. It's got it's fairly odoriferous. To me, it smells like shrimp. Anyway, you'd want to use a little bit of this. Typically, the best way to use any type of lure is to put it on a white cotton ball. The white cotton ball will absorb all the oils and the material, and then as it warms up and gets warm throughout the day, it sends off this scent that wafts around. And you can also put this on cat food, dry cat food, or dry dog food. Now, another really good lure is Wildlife Control Supplies fish oil. As you notice, this is a bigger bottle with more product in it. This has a different kind of smell to it. It's kind of, it reminds me of, it's not super fishy like the bacterial fishy you smell when you catch a fish. This smells more like the oil of the fish, but it's kind of got a buttery smell to it. We typically use a lot of this because it's not quite as odoriferous. We only use a little bit of this. Good for bringing in, if you had to catch a bunch of stray cats, you could use this. If you needed to catch possums, skunks, or raccoons, especially raccoons. Raccoons very attracted to this. White cotton ball, excellent for holding the lure in. And then you can pour this over the top like gravy over the top of some dry cat food or some dry dog food. Both excellent ways to draw a raccoon to go inside your tube traps. So you may be asking yourself why? Why am I showing everybody all of our tricks? Well, I think one, it's important for a homeowner to understand, if you're going to do it yourself, the very best way to do it. I also think that there's a lot of wildlife control operators out there that just always are learning and searching for new ideas. You know, how to set up a trap, how to bait a trap, how to use a trap. Everyone has their own idea on how that's supposed to work. We are going to be bringing you these Wildlife Command Center how-to videos often. We have a ton of products that we use and a lot of techniques that work. And if, for whatever reason, you can't do it yourself, that's why you bring in an expert that has over 20,000 hours of trapping experience to actually read the nuanced details of what's happening at your house. That's why you would hire Wildlife Command Center, because we have all these years of expertise.
It's so true, because there's been plenty of times when we've been on removal calls and like you see something that I just don't see, you know, the movement of the animal, and there's just so many different tiny things.
There are a lot of tiny things. There's a lot of clues, there's a lot of giveaways that most people are not tuned into, but this is what I do. And so those little bitty tiny micro details matter to me. Those little scratch prints, those little faint handprints in the dust, you know, those little bitty slivers of hair, all that stuff matters to me, and I look for it and I notice it. It helps me tell the story on what's the best way of this animal's movement to put a trap in so that we'll catch it. And we can catch it. Bare hands brand.
It's probably going to be the end clip.